Welcome back. This is Randy the War Duck, and we are here talking duck sports. This is the day after, and boy, we did not get the result we were looking for there. Oregon plays Indiana at home and loses 20-30. And I think what hurt worst about this one was it was at home on game day. That was a big time loss, and I just really felt Oregon got outplayed and got out physical, and that's something that we haven't seen with this team, and that makes me a little nervous going forward. So I thought Oregon really was in the game all the way through the third quarter. I didn't feel like Oregon was going to lose that game until the fourth quarter really started. That's when, for me, Oregon just got pushed around, got manhandled, got out-physicaled, and just got outplayed, got out-coached. A complete loss in the fourth quarter, I thought, and that was very disappointing to see, especially at home. That was even worse. So, okay, well, we'll just start off from there. All right, so something I really wanted to look at here was the fourth quarter, because that's really where I thought Oregon fell apart. And Oregon's down, 20-13. They go 6 plays and they get 8 yards. And that's kind of embarrassing. And then Indiana gets the ball and they're driving a bit. And then Oregon gets the interception. The pick six was because of a great punt on the 2-yard line, set up that pick six. And then the very next drive, 12 plays, 75 yards, 619. And that was the drive for me that I knew Oregon was in trouble. They had 0 answers, and every time Indiana ran the ball, they were getting, 5-6 yards. Oregon, I felt like a lot of times in this game, could not stop the run. But especially in the fourth quarter, Oregon was getting blown off of the ball on both sides, and I was kind of a little bit embarrassed on that. Oregon has 2 plays. Dante throws the interception. It was tipped at the line. Okay, those kind of things will happen. I don't really fault Dante Moore for that one. And then again, Indiana comes out and has another 9-play, 28-yard drive for another 4 minutes. Oregon's offense and Oregon's defense, both of their line looked like they got exposed. Oregon had 0 pressure. I felt, well, they had some pressure, but it was always late, and it was just too late. And then Dante Moore gets intercepted again. Indiana goes 4 plays. The game was long over by then. Oregon runs 6 plays, gets 23 yards. And yeah, it was just kind of a beatdown. I mean, I felt like Indiana came to Oregon and pushed Oregon around, and Oregon had 0 answers. So Indiana has 23 first downs. Oregon has 14. Third down efficiency, 5 of 14, and Oregon was 3 of 14. And had to result to 3 of 4 fourth downs to even make the game what it was. Oregon gets outrushed, 111 to 81 yards. Most of that is in the fourth quarter. Passing yards, 215 to 186. 80-yard difference about, or 60-yard difference about total. Oregon gets sacked 6 times for 35 yards. There was a lot of times I felt like Dante Moore had no pocket presence or just didn't know where the pressure was coming from, didn't know where to go, held on to the ball just too long. But I think those were partly the plays and stuff, and he's used to having a line that was blocking, but they lived in Oregon's backfield all game. It really was. Penalty yards. Indiana had 8 penalties. Oregon had 7. I thought this game was really poorly called in both directions. I thought there was a lot of things that were called one way and then weren't called the other way. And I'm not saying Oregon or Indiana had a benefit, because I thought they both had calls or missed calls on both sides. I thought overall the game was just kind of poorly called. But there was some questionable ones on both sides in key moments. Um, Indiana has the one fumble loss. But, I mean, the stats tell the game right here. Oregon just simply got outplayed. And especially in the fourth quarter, it was really obvious. Dante Moore stats: 21 attempts for 34 yards, or 21 out of 34 attempts for 186 yards, 1 TD, and 2 interceptions. Both of those in the fourth quarter. Rushing, Jordan Davis had a pretty good game, but the rest of the team, just really didn't do a whole lot. Dante Moore had a long of 4. Jay Harris had a long of 1. DeCorey Moore had a long of 7. Jade Lamar long of 7. Noah Whittington had a long of 7. And then Davison had that long run for 26 yards. The rushing game wasn't there. And then the passing game just wasn't there. And I attribute most of that to the line. Like, the line just didn't show up. Roman Himby, 19 carries for 70 yards. I felt like every time that guy, look at this, long 14, long 14, long 14. I felt like every time they had the ball, though, they were falling forwards for yards. They didn't have many negative rushing runs from these guys, and that was the big thing. And then letting Mendoza run as he did, got those 3 huge first downs for them, I thought was also very telling. And like I said, I blame both of the lines, offense and defensive line, on this loss. I thought they just didn't play up to what Oregon has been used to playing. And that's not if... And it's highly possible that Indiana's lines are just that much better than Oregon's line. That's very possible. I don't know. I'm not a coach. I can't get into the weeds of that. But Indiana's lines were blowing Oregon's lines off the ball. Are they that much better, or did Oregon just not play well? I don't know, but you have to give all the credit to Indiana, because they flew across the country. They go to Autzen Stadium, where most teams can't win, and they pulled off something that a lot of teams just haven't been able to do. So Indiana wins by 10 at Oregon. So what does that mean for a neutral site game or a game at Indiana? That puts Oregon on the losing side. If it's because you got to think that at least 7 points is Autzen Stadium. So that does not look good. That does not look good for Oregon. Although the end of this game, the points at the end of this game were a lot different, because if you look until the fourth quarter, Oregon was only down by just a few points. They get that interception, the pick 6, and they tie it up. Oregon, I felt like they were going to win that game at that point, until Indiana went on that next drive and simply just blew Oregon off the ball every single time. And, that's a tough loss for Oregon, and not all is lost, but I think the Big Ten championship game is set. I think it's Ohio State, Indiana. Those two don't play each other in the regular season. I don't see either of those teams losing going forward, looking at their schedule. So I think it's Indiana versus Ohio State in the Big Ten title game. Oregon's not going to get a chance to defend that title. Oregon takes their first Big Ten loss in the last 2 years, which is a feat in itself. But to lose at home like that to Indiana, the way they lost, getting blown off the ball, was kind of embarrassing. Now, Oregon has to be very careful here because this is a very, very, very similar scenario to what just happened to Penn State. And Oregon cannot let this Indiana loss beat them again and again and again and again. They just can't. So Oregon, they go and they play Rutgers next. And we'll take a look at the Rutgers. They lost to Iowa by 10. They lost to Minnesota by 3. They lost to Washington by a few, but that's not a team that has been out of the game. I mean, 3 points lost to Minnesota at Minnesota. So this is the team that Oregon has to be very careful with. This is the team that if Oregon is not ready to play, they will get beat. And so Oregon has to be really careful to rebound from this loss, learn whatever to learn. Like Dan Lanning says, go to the doctor, and they have to fix it. And they have to fix it fast because going to Rutgers is no easy feat. It's a long trip. So let's go ahead and take a look at these rankings here. Ohio State stays at number 1. Miami number 2, Indiana number 3, Texas A&M 4, Ole Miss 5, Alabama 6, Texas Tech 7, Oregon falls to number 8, Georgia goes up to 9, and LSU is number 10. Now, to be honest, I don't think Miami's schedule is as tough as what Indiana has just gone through, but it's neither here nor there. Those what the voters poll think. I think Indiana is a very good team, and I think Ohio State is in a very good position to repeat as the national title winner. Now, all is not lost for Oregon, because if you remember right, Ohio State took 2 losses last year, came back, corrected all those faults, and still won. I think this puts Oregon in a very, very good position to not be in the Big Ten game, not play that extra game, and then get that first round game in the playoffs where they can get in rhythm and then play that second game. I think that puts Oregon in the exact same position that Ohio State was in. However, that Indiana loss was very, very worrying. So, with that said, we'll see what happens next week. Oregon goes to Rutgers. Oregon has to be very careful not to fall into the same trap that Penn State fell into. I don't think they will. I think Dan Lanning's a better coach than that. I think Oregon's a better team than that. I think Oregon either just played tight or maybe Indiana is just that much better than Oregon, which it's hard to tell. That looked like a very, very distinct possibility. So with that, we're out of here for now. Tough loss. Hopefully Oregon bounces back and gets that win against Rutgers next week. But till then, much love all.